For this segment of the Easton Technical Bulletin series, we're going to focus on knocks, knock materials, and knock maintenance. And we've got a special guest. This is Chris Schaff. Chris is one of the top archers in the world with the compound bow. We're very pleased to have him here in the Easton studios. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So, Chris, when we talk about nocks and knock systems, one of the things that has been historically true over the years is nocks that insert into the arrows have proven to become absolutely supreme. The days of the knock that attaches to the tapered rear of an arrow, pretty much done. These days, just about all we use are nocks that are an insert or on a pin. Easton developed the original bushing-based knock system as well as the pin-based knock system back in the 1980s and 1990s, and today they've become the world standard. There's a lot of different types of nocks for different types of archery. For example, for compound archery, Easton has many different offerings, including the 3D Super Knock, the Super Knock, and other models that are suitable for compound bow. Similarly, on the recurve side, we've got many models that are extremely custom-tuned, shall we say, for the needs of the recurve archer. Things like how much contact there is between your fingers, or how well the knock stays on the string when you let down. Things like the 3D Super Knock. What is your personal choice? What do you prefer to use?
For indoor season, I use the Super Knock. You know, I keep my serving diameter at 113 thousandths, just so there's not any play left and right on it, but it slides up and down easily on the serving. For outdoors, I use a pin knock.
113 thousandths of an inch is 1/1000th of an inch smaller than the ATA industry standard, which is 114 thousandths of an inch. The Super Knock is set to have a fairly tight fit on most standard recurve and compound bowstring. The 3D Super Knock has a longer throat and a double snap. This allows that knock to be able to remain on the string in case the archer needs to let down and start the shot process over. That 3D Super Knock double snap prevents that knock from squirting off the string. One of the other choices that many people make, of course, is the pin knock system. That helps save arrows, doesn't it?
It does. You got a metal pin that goes in the back of the arrow, and then the pin or the knock slides over the top of that. So when you do hit a knock, you're not cracking the back end of the arrow. It's gonna hit the pin, glance off a little bit, so you save the arrow.
The development of the pin knock actually went hand in hand with the development of the original Easton X10 arrow shaft. In order to get a knock that was small and strong enough to work with the small diameter of the X10, we developed the pin knock system back in 1994. The pins that Easton produces for the pin knock system have a tolerance that is less than 50 millionths of an inch in terms of run out and diameter. It's a really precision part. And it does save a lot of arrows too. Besides Easton knocks, many archers like to use the biter knock system. The biter knock was invented back in 1983 by Werner Biter, a good friend of mine from Germany. When Werner designed his original asymmetric knock, it was designed specifically for recurve archers. Chris uses the biter knock on the Easton pin system. He uses the symmetrical version of that knock. But you've also used the asymmetric knock, and there are some specific tuning considerations.
There is. Asymmetrical, you have to make sure that they are the same direction every time, or they will hit different because the angle of the knock fits the string. So if you put them upside down, it's not going to fit in there perfectly.
It behaves as if you've got a very different knocking point position if you put it in upside down.
Yeah, where the symmetrical knocks, it doesn't matter. I still index mine the same, but I can shoot them upside down or right side up, and they're going to hit the same because they're symmetrical.
One of the characteristics that people like about the biter knock is that they're a single cavity knock. But what a lot of people don't realize is the Easton pin knocks and super knocks are also a single cavity knock. Each knock in a bag comes from a single cavity in the mold, and so you're getting that same value whether you buy an Easton knock or a biter knock, that you're ensured that every knock in that bag is exactly the same. Maintenance of knocks, of course, is a very important factor. Not just the wear on each individual knock, but also the lifespan and how that knock is affected by things like chemical exposure. If you use sunscreen or insect repellent, you may find that the chemicals will have an impact upon the knock. For example, DEET, which is used commonly in North America for insect repellent, is very, very reactive with the materials used in almost every knock out there, with the one exception of Easton's Super Knock in the non-translucent colors. Those are a xenoi and they're very chemical resistant, but just about every polycarbonate knock, whether it's an Easton knock or a biter knock, is super susceptible to damage from DEET. So keep that in mind if you use insect repellent. And also sunscreens, some of them contain chemicals that can affect knocks. Besides that though, there is also the normal wear and tear. that goes with using a nock. And Chris, nocks do have a lifespan. They are a consumable.
You know, depending on your bow and everything like that, you can get nocks to start spreading when you shoot them over and over again. The ears are actually spreading out a little bit from what they would come stock. I change mine out usually about every 100 to 200 arrows just so I know that they are brand new, fresh, ready to go.
Now, is that 1 to 200 shots on a specific arrow? Yeah.
Outdoor season, they get broke more often than the indoor arrows, so I don't change those out a lot because they end up getting broken anyways.
So, you know, one of the things that you need to keep in mind is that if you're using nocks that have a limited lifespan, like all nocks, you might want to consider your timing of when you change your nocks. I personally, when I was competing at a high level, would change nocks just before a tournament. What about you?
I change them probably a week to 2 weeks prior to the tournament just so I know that they're still performing as they should, but a couple tournaments through a nock is all right.
For a recurve shooter, you're not going to see the difference, whereas a high-level precision compound shooter like Chris might see the difference if he changes nocks right before the tournament. And that's a consideration that, you know, is going to be dependent upon your individual precision level. And so nocks have a lot to them. And one of the things that you'll discover as you go through your archery journey is that nocks are one of the most vital components in terms of your accuracy. And Chris, I know you know this very well. What are the specific things you pay attention to before you head out to the competition field when you're checking your nocks?
One thing, you know, obviously make sure there's no cracks in them. But having, you know, your ears spread a little bit, you want that nock fit to be the same as the brand new dozen that you're going to put on, same fit consistently, you know, every arrow that you shoot, as well as the fit inside your bushing now. The more you shoot them, they kind of loosen up a little bit, and you don't want those to spin in there, because if they spin, then you're going to get some vein contact with your rest if you don't catch it.
All important considerations from a champion. You can learn about the complete line of Easton nocks at eastonarchery.com.